Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Sorry, I'm a few minutes late.
So,
Okay, so I think the students are here, a few of them. Shall we start?
yes,
Okay, fine. Okay, I think good afternoon, everybody, and we'll start with whoever we have, and then as more students come, they can join and they can listen to this, right? So today's topic is going to be about social media marketing. And we'll see I mean, as you all know that in today's world, social media as a tool, as a medium, as a marketing kind of channel is very, very important, right? Whether we work in an organization, or whether we are individuals who are kind of marketing, or being present in social, it's become the part and parcel of life. In the last class, we talked about in building an individual brand, where we talked about multiple ways in how we can kind of build our brand in the industry. One of them was social media. How through social media can we build our brand, right? So that's one aspect of it. Second is, even if you're working in an organization or any project, or you're freelancing, or you're a consultant, reaching out to the relevant users using social media is critical. And that's what today's world and today's generation really looks for. And there are various social media channels, be it the LinkedIn, be it like the Instagram or the YouTube, or in certain countries there are some newer platforms as well, for example WeChat. So there are multiple, right? But all of them are part of social media, and hence it is very important. So we'll see today how we can market using social media, right? I'll play the video by the author, right? We'll listen to it, and then in between, we'll have our interactions to see what it means to market in social media and how do we do that. That's important. So I'll share my screen, and okay, is my screen visible now?
yes, sir.
Okay, I'll play the sound and just let me know if the sound is audible or not.
A week doesn't go by without...
Is it audible?
Yes, sir. Audible.
Oh, thank you so much. And I shall play.
A week doesn't go by without big news from the main social media platforms. Maybe Facebook or Twitter changed their algorithms, or Instagram and Snapchat offered up new shoppable ad options, or YouTube decided to be more like a TV network, or there's a new kid in town, TikTok. That's what we're going to cover in this course, how to use social media marketing to help achieve your business goals. We'll start by showing you how to conduct a social media audit. You'll learn how to dig into your findings, analyze the results, and use data-driven insights to help shape your content marketing plans.
And I'll pause for a moment, and I will ask all the students to please make notes of what you are seeing and hearing. So for example, when we talk about what we will learn today, we'll talk about a social media audit, look into insights, adapt your content marketing plan. So please make your relevant notes, because this will then help you to follow these best practices when you are kind of working on a social media campaign, or when you are working on a social media plan, right? I just encourage you to also make down notes as you are listening to this.
Hi, I'm Martin Waxman, a digital communication strategist. I conduct social media training and audits for companies of all sizes, and I teach social media. I'm also a bit of a social media news junkie. I'm going to zero in on the latest developments on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, Snapchat, Pinterest, and TikTok, and how they affect your brand. I'll show you how to refine your content mix, choose a social media marketing platform, and develop a paid, earned, shared, and owned media strategy for your business. So don't be afraid of the swirling, fast-paced social media flow. I'm going to give you a content marketing life jacket that helps you stay afloat. Ready? Let's jump in.
The first thing is going to talk about how do you even build your social media strategy. So strategy is very important even before you execute. While we talk about using different channels to execute, which is the ultimate action that no one would take, but even before that, we need to have a strategy. So the first thing what we will learn is what's our social media approach and how are we building that strategy. So let's listen.
If you had to describe your company's approach to social media in one sentence, what would you say? That you're strategic, targeted, and have great relationships with your customers. That you continually test and adapt. That your social media programs are well integrated throughout your organization. That it's a hit or miss activity. That social media is still a sore point for certain members of the C-suite. Or maybe it's a combination of some or all of the above. Regardless of the way you describe it, we can probably agree on a couple of things. Social media is here to stay. The pace of change isn't slowing down, and a week doesn't go by without some tech news or announcements. And if you want to keep track of what's happening, you may want to check out my Digital Marketing Trends course. It's a series that's updated every 2 weeks. As marketers, you're expected to manage your social media programs and integrate them with all your other plans. And that's the key, integration, and being true to your brand's character and voice on whatever platform you're on. That doesn't mean you have to spout the exact same message on each. In much the same way you wouldn't wear a bathing suit to work, hopefully, your brand can show different aspects of its personality on various social channels. You just have to know how to act in the setting you're in and understand when to loosen or take off your corporate tie, so to speak.
A very important point to keep in mind, right? Various social media channels are meant for various things. Like LinkedIn is more professional and corporate tone in how you communicate. Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook are more personal in nature. YouTube is more video based, right? So as a brand, as an organization, you may want to be present on all the social platforms, but not necessarily the same content in the same way being shown across. There has to be a different approach taken for the same content. How do you tweak it further for an YouTube? What kind of tonality you use for an Instagram? What kind of tonality you use for a LinkedIn, etc. And that is very, very key to remember, because a lot of times what folks do is they just copy paste one content from one channel to the other, which is not a best practice. So hence, keeping this in mind is important. And that's what we'll hear more.
To speak. That's tough for some traditional marketers and PR folks who believed message consistency was everything. Nowadays, you need to figure out which aspect of your brand personality is most appropriate for the channel you're on. There's no pat answer here, so rely on your brand values as a guide. You've heard this before, but it starts with your customers, the relationships you've built with them, and knowing where and when they want to hear from you. That means shifting your thinking from marketing to editorial, from selling to helping. And it means taking an honest and critical look at your strengths and weaknesses and the type of content you can excel at and which isn't currently being produced. You need to attach a value to your social media efforts. If you think of content marketing as an asset, you'll be more mindful of what you create and share. And remember, digital is trackable and measurable, but don't fall into the trap of counting likes. Establish measurable results that tie into your business and marketing goals. In the early days of social media, it was all about volume and speed. And while it's still important to respond as quickly as you can, there's no point pushing out content just for the sake of it. Emphasize quality over quantity. You don't want to be thought of as a content polluter. Make strategic choices. Pick your channels. Learn how to both fit in and stretch the limits. Be creative and strive for excellence. And remember, selling is a nuanced action. It's more than just pushing out your messages over and over again.
Let me ask you something. How well do you know your customers and why they believe in your brand? Are you their go-to source? Would they recommend you to their friends? To dig into these types of customer insights, you need to understand your audience and what motivates them. And that's where audience segmentation comes in. A good place to start is by segmenting your customers by demographics like income, education, household size, age, job, and so on. Demographics are an effective way to dig into the socioeconomic data and identify patterns that can help you target your messages more effectively. For instance, a financial services firm like Bank is trying to attract more diverse young entrepreneurs. They could create a promoted Instagram campaign featuring pictures of successful business people with testimonials for the bank. But demographics are just part of the picture. You also need to understand how your customers think and feel, their perceptions of your competitors and your brand. Do they respond to emotional stories, or would they prefer more fact-based information? What are their values, and how do those values shape their attitudes? These are examples of psychographic targeting, a way to get a handle on how your customers think. Just remember that any information you collect should be permission-based and adhere to the prevailing rules and regulations, and that you have safeguards in place to protect your customer privacy. Now, let's look at behavioral data, or what your customers actually do. When they see your post on Instagram, do they stop and respond to your call to action? Do they sign up or place a repeat order? Do they write you a 5-star review? Taken together, demographics, psychographics, and behavior helps you paint a clear picture of your customers and what matters to them. Of course, you should also pay attention to which content engages your audience and how much time they spend with it. And familiarize yourself with the social media platforms your customers are on and whether or not they want to interact with you there. You can do that through social listening to find out where your customers are active, what your competitors are doing, and any gaps or opportunities you could fill. Most marketers know their brand and what it stands for. What's equally important is getting a handle on your customers' perceptions and what makes them act, and then creating social media content that gives them exactly what they want and need.
So very, very key important takeaway that you would be able to successfully market only once you are able to segment your audiences into various groups. Not all audiences behave in the same fashion. Be it a certain age group, which is the demographics, be it the behavioral, in terms of where you are browsing, where you are sharing content, etc. So various audiences uses demonstrates different behavior, right? So audience segmentation is the key, and that is what is very important to understand. Once you understand and break it down further, then using your social media channels, etc., what is the kind of content the audience would like to see, where will they go and engage, where will they go and share, where will they fill up a form or do a purchase repeat order, right? So all these are available on all of the social media tools and platforms. There are also additional tools and platforms which is called as social media listening tools, which can be used to find out all these audience behaviors, right? But the key thing to remember is audience segmentation is very important, and only based on that is how you would want to move forward, right? Now we'll look at how do you start your social media strategy with a SWOT analysis, what is your strengths, weakness, and threats, etc. It's very important to do a SWOT to understand as a brand, where do I stand, and then I do my next level of strategy, right? So let's listen to that.
Many organizations approach digital media from a platform-first perspective. That is, they jump on a social network and develop their strategy later. As a result, they may have multiple accounts on various networks, abandoned profiles, inefficient processes, and a content plan with few actionable goals. That's why it's important for companies to take stock of their digital assets. And one of the best ways to do that is with a social media audit. You'll find some helpful tips on how to conduct an audit in our exercise files.
In a social media audit, you'll examine your social and digital properties through a critical and curious lens. You're looking at your strengths and challenges, your paid, earned, and owned media, and how well your team is achieving its goals. Everything's on the table, so try to be as honest as you can. We prepared a resource to help you get started in the exercise files. But an audit isn't just about looking inside. You'll also want to pay attention to what your competitors are doing and how successful they are. Assess the landscape and listen to conversations your customers, suppliers, competitors, employees, and other stakeholders are having. You can find more tips on listening and monitoring in my Learn Social Media Monitoring course. You'll also want to talk to thought leaders in your industry, your staff, and customers. Make sure you let them know you're capturing their comments anonymously. That way, they'll be more inclined to give you an unfiltered response. When you think about your business, ask questions like, who are you trying to reach? What platforms do they use? What's your organization currently doing versus what are you doing well? Where are the gaps, challenges, strengths, and weaknesses? Are there internal barriers to change? Are your social media programs tied to your business goals? Audrey Topsy from Topsy Turvy Bakery is really focused on growing her customer base. So I asked her who she's trying to reach.
Well, brides, of course, wedding planners, busy moms planning birthday parties, and really almost anyone with a special occasion.
That's a pretty big audience. How are you using social media to connect with them?
Well, we used to get a lot of comments from young moms and active brides on Facebook who would share photos of our cakes, but that's gone down in the last year or so. One of our younger staff members has been posting behind-the-scenes stories on our Instagram account, and I like that idea. Should we continue? Will Instagram posts help grow our business?
You know, Audrey, those are all questions you could ask in your social media audit. But before Audrey begins, Topsy Turvy, like your brand, needs to develop goals and objectives. That way, you'll know what you want your audit to accomplish. When you start, try to be as objective as you can. Pay attention to all the pages on your website or blog, your social media properties, your digital and traditional content and marketing materials, and look at competitors through your customers' eyes.
Then, analyze the results and identify trends, areas for improvement, and opportunities. Done well, a social media audit can open your company's eyes to the realities of your business landscape and get you the insights you need to develop a strategic roadmap with recommendations designed to achieve your social media goals. A doctor I know made a video that went viral. So he started making more videos, but none of them were as popular as the first. I asked about that, and he said, not everything needs to go viral. It's okay to be bacterial too. Of course, only a doctor would say something like that, but he had a point, and that is, a well-targeted piece of content doesn't have to appeal to everyone. The key is to reach your customers. The same principle applies to your company's social media. Simply going viral for viral's sake is not a sustainable tactic nor a realistic goal. It's better to create niche content your audience can't find anywhere else that speaks to their needs and builds relationships and trust.
Very, very key and important point to remember. When you are building a content, we would always want, of course, a content to be reaching out to maximum number of people and going viral, right? But never create a content only for the sake of virality. The content should be authentic and content should be very, very meaningful and niche. And that's why this example, which talks about if you're creating niche content, it just helps to build trust in the relationship. It's not about I post 10 different content and in the intent of going viral. That actually backfires. So you should create smart content, relevant content, niche content, content that is meaningful. And then automatically, once the brand, the users build a trust with your brand, then people start recognizing content coming from you as something which is meaningful, and automatically that goes viral, right? So the key takeaway is don't just create content for the sake of creating it. Create content which is meaningful and which is relevant, and thus hence use social media to promote the same.
Okay, you've done your social media audit. Now you can delve into your analytics to uncover deeper insights. What times of day work best for your posts and why? Is there a consistency to your engagement, or does it vary? And what does your CRM or customer relationship management data tell you to support or refute your observation? Customer engagement depends on many variables, but here are the key ones: the type of social content you produce, the tone, timing, and most important, the relevance to customers. Interpreting your data wisely helps you optimize and adapt. It all comes down to understanding your audience and what they like or need. Do they respond better to videos or infographics? Maybe it's tips and lists that attract them. Identify the topics and keywords that customers engage with and figure out how to do more of that. Look at your content calendar and determine if the content you believe is your strongest actually is. You might be surprised by what you find. We have a sample content calendar in the exercise files. Get under the hood of your social media posts to see where you're getting the best engagement and figure out why. Then adjust your content calendar and continue to monitor and adapt in real time. Your analytics also show you who on the team was responsible for the highest producing or performing content. Celebrate or reward their creativity and encourage them to keep it up. Or maybe invite your social media star to lead a lunch and learn and share tips about what made their content stand out and inspire your team. Don't just create content in a vacuum and rely on your gut to determine what works. Instead, dig into your data, analyze it, and watch how your customers behave. And remember, one viral success is not a social media strategy. In one of my other courses, I talked about my dad who ran a fabric and drapery store for over 40 years. Even though my dad never did a SWOT analysis for his business, I'm sure if he had, it would have been pretty straightforward and focused on the big picture. For instance, his strengths, well, that would have been him and his fabric selection. Weaknesses, definitely some of his staff. Opportunities to sell more fabrics and drapes, and threats, current and new competitors. Of course, today the world is a lot more complex, but big picture thinking is still the essence of a SWOT. Your social media audit likely included a SWOT, which is an analysis of the business landscape you're in, broken into 4 main categories. Strengths and weaknesses, they're typically used for looking inward at your company. Opportunities and threats, they're more outward looking. When you're doing a SWOT, it's important not to sugarcoat the facts and to be honest about where you stand, even if it ruffles some feathers. Just be prepared to back up your rationale with solid examples. Your SWOT shouldn't be a laundry list of bullet points that go on and on and on. It's a snapshot that demonstrates where you stand out and what some of your issues, vulnerabilities, and future possibilities might be. Keep it to no more than 3 or 4 points per quadrant and make sure your observations tie in with your business goals.
Let's look at Topsy-Turvy Cake Design, which has been active on Facebook, putting more emphasis on Instagram, and considering Pinterest and Snapchat, and starting a social media audit. I'm going to walk Audrey through some of the steps they'd need to take. Audrey, tell me your company's top strengths.
I think one of our biggest strengths is our name and how well we're known in the community. We get a lot of business from referrals, and I know customers love our creative designs.
Okay, how about your weaknesses?
Well, we're perfect, so of course we don't have any. Okay, if I'm serious, I'd say I have really high expectations and maybe I'm not the best manager in the world. So we do have more staff turnover than I'd like. Also, I think we sometimes get too busy to post on social or we just post too much. So there's no real strategy or consistency.
Are there any opportunities you'd like to pursue?
Well, I've been thinking about developing an online recipe subscription business where each month we'd publish and share recipes for customers to try at home. And I've been told I'm a good talker, so I thought I might want to become a baking expert for a local or a national morning show. I don't know, is that silly?
Of course not. It's great to have big goals. Finally, I asked Audrey about what threats her bakery might be facing.
I did mention I'm not a great people person, and I did have a falling out with my second in command, and she just left to start her own business. I'm really worried because she knows the recipes and has some good ideas on how to improve them. Also, we've heard that a national bakery chain with a big budget is about to open up in town, and I'm not sure I can compete on price.
Let's evaluate the results and what all this could mean for Topsy-Turvy. We know they're creative, and the founder, Audrey Topsy, is one of the company's biggest assets and has the potential to be a high-profile spokesperson. We also know that the staff is talented, but there's a bit of a revolving door for employees. And we see there's going to be increased competition from a national brand and possibly a former employee who knows company secrets. So, what should Audrey do? It seems like Audrey could be more focused externally and position herself as an influencer. Her celebrity could halo on the brand and protect against competition. To do that, the company would probably need to hire a manager, and Audrey would have to cede some control of the business. That move could also help with employee turnover. And as far as the lack of their social media strategy, Topsy-Turvy could work with a small agency to develop a plan. The agency could also train one or two of her employees who would then have social media and content marketing as part of their jobs. Of course, this is just the beginning of the recipe for Topsy-Turvy, but it gives you an idea of how to get started. By assessing your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats honestly and critically, your business can get a clear picture of where you are and what you need to do to get to where you want to go.
Hence, the importance of SWOT analysis. While we can do all our strategy, your audience segmentation, everything, but unless you do your SWOT for your business, which is your strengths, weakness, opportunities, and threats, we would not know how do you even adapt your strategy. So the importance of strategy and the example which you saw here clearly talks about what Topsy-Turvy, which is like the brand here, could do and could have done differently, which would have helped them to actually use the social media platforms in a relevant manner, right? So what we have learned till now is basically doing your audience segmentation, understanding what social media brands are effective all about. How do you use your data to identify the different various media strengths, etc., and of course the SWOT analysis, right? Now what we will see is we'll see what matters most with all the social media platforms. What are the different platforms? What kind of content will go into different platforms? How can you boost your awareness using ads and promoted posts? How do you create your stories? How do you relevantly use your podcasts and social audios, etc.? So we'll see the various types that can happen over here, right? Let's listen.
It's natural to feel overwhelmed by social media because it feels like the platforms are constantly changing and there's so much overlap between what each does. Ultimately, it's up to your business to find the social networks that help you connect and build relationships with your customers. Let's take a look at the main ones and what makes them stand out. Some of the biggest platforms are from Meta, including Facebook, Instagram, and messaging service WhatsApp. Facebook is like the new mass media. Almost everyone's on it, so it appeals to a big audience with a wide range of interests. But it's skewing older, so if you're trying to reach a younger audience, you might have more luck on Instagram. Instagram, which started as a photo app, is all about visuals, video, and stories, and finding the right hashtags your customers are following. WhatsApp is primarily a messaging service, but smaller companies are using it for customer service, and it is offering more e-commerce options. YouTube, as you know, is the social video mega platform, and it's effective for long-form, live streams, and stories videos. Then there's TikTok, the app that redefined video entertainment and whose algorithmic feed is super attuned to user interests. Snapchat is another app that uses video effectively and is a leader in augmented reality, both on their platform and off. Twitter, the world's news feed, is a place to showcase what's new and participate in trending topics, and they also offer video and audio options. LinkedIn is so much more than a business networking site. It's a place for live video and audio content, newsletters, and to showcase your company's culture and attract new employees. On the B2B side, and doubling down on shopping, is Pinterest, with its aspirational photos and videos, visual search, and social shopping options. Of course, there are other sites like Tumblr, one of the earliest social networks, and one that's still popular with some creators today. Reddit has been called the front page of the internet and is home to passionate communities and users. Discord is an audio and video chat platform often used by gamers or other communities to talk and connect. And Clubhouse, the first social audio app, is a place for audio conversations, except its features have been copied by Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, Reddit, and even Spotify. So where does your brand fit in? Well, if you're a bakery like Topsy Turvy, you'll probably be focused on creative visual content on Instagram or TikTok. That might be different for a company like Glowbank, which could put more effort into attracting customers on LinkedIn. And that's where research and social listening comes in, and developing a strategic approach based on your customers, your brand, and your resources. Once you decide which platforms to use, LinkedIn Learning is a good one-stop resource for courses that take you through how each network operates and how you can use them to achieve your goals. The days of viral organic posts from brands are long gone. In its place are paid opportunities that social media platforms offer brands as a way for them to monetize their business, which means you need to build paid media into your social media plans. Let's delve into some of the options and how to develop a strategy that works for your brand. One of the simplest ways to get noticed on social is by boosting or promoting your post. That is, by putting some money behind your top-performing content to increase its reach. Boosted posts are generally easy to set up, and most of the platforms offer various options that you can consider. Just remember, you may need to switch from a personal to a business account in order to take advantage of business posts or social media ads. Other paid options include video or photo ads that can run between stories. You could try pre-roll ads that are shown at the start of a video, or a mid-roll ad that happens once a user started watching. Carousel ads include a selection of your products, and if you want to really get noticed, brand takeovers appear at the top of a feed, so they're hard for your customers to miss. You can sponsor hashtags or trending topics, and if your budget is big enough, you can work directly with platforms to create custom assets like augmented reality lenses. A company like H+ Sport might be interested in building awareness for their new marathon line of stylish and innovative products that connect your smartwatch to monitor your breathing and pulse. They also know they're trying to reach a young tech-savvy audience in cities where marathons are held. They might create story ads that appear next to a marathon training hashtag on Instagram or TikTok. Or they could encourage their customers to tag them when they complete a run and then boost those posts. The key is finding the right blend of paid and organic posts for your business. That begins with your goals and whether you're looking to build awareness, spark consideration, or encourage customers to purchase. Then you'll need to select your budget and determine your audience and other considerations like length of campaign, geography, and whether you're using video, photos, or some combination. And most platforms offer AI or algorithmic optimization, where you upload your visuals and copy, and they're automatically updated based on what's getting the most attention. But just because you've automated your paid social posts doesn't mean you can set and forget. You'll need to establish a process to monitor performance on a regular basis and ensure your ads are meeting your objectives. And if they aren't, you'll want to tweak and adjust. The platforms all offer free training courses to help marketers understand how to manage and maximize the efficiency of your ads, and they're well worth your time.
So we saw here, how using advertisements and paid media, you can use different types of social media ads, be it a stories or be it a post or be it anything else, right? And the example is here what we saw, how on an Instagram, different paid advertisements could be done, right? So the importance is to always keep in mind a right and healthy balance between your organic and paid promotion in social media. Well, organic has certain limitations. It will only have very limited reach, etc. But your paid would kind of boost your reach. You can be much more targeted and you can reach out to the right relevant audiences. But does that mean that we do only paid and not organic? No, because organic is very important to continue the engagement, that the followers who come and join your social media channels and keep engaging with them, right? So hence there's going to be there's a requirement to have a very fine balance between organic and paid. But again, through your paid, you increase your boost, and there are various types of advertisements which you can done through paid, right? That's what we kind of learned that. Let's see how influencer marketing and how it kind of creates an impact.
There's no doubt marketing and the creator economy are on the rise because both creators and influencers have built followings based on their passions, and brands are eager to work with them. Yet it isn't always easy finding influencers who are the right fit for your customers and your brand. If you have a big budget, you may want to consider digital or traditional stars. But maybe you'd rather build a closer relationship with influencers. That's where a more niche group like micro-influencers come in. Micro-influencers have fewer than 10,000 followers, and because of that, their rates are considerably lower than stars. Or you could work with nano-influencers who have between 1,000 and 5,000 followers. And while their reach may be low, they often drive high engagement because their followers almost consider them a friend. This brings us to the creator economy, which is all the ways influencers and creators make money from their content. The creator economy is an ever-changing landscape, and many platforms, including Meta, LinkedIn, TikTok, Pinterest, and Snapchat, have special creator funds that compensate creators based on audience size, views, engagement, and content. Some platforms like YouTube, Twitter, and Clubhouse let you tip creators by sending money for content you enjoy directly to them. On the brand side, influencer marketing lets you work directly with influencers and pay them for creating branded content. Here are just a few of the things you might do. You could invite creators to host live stream shopping events, harness social commerce, and let creators sell your products right from their stores. You could get creators involved in brand events or product launches, or sponsor or place ads in creator podcasts, newsletters, or video content. Of course, transparent disclosure is a key part of that relationship, so fans know which posts are sponsored and which aren't. And influencers don't risk losing audience trust. So how do you get started? Well, first, establish your budget and whether you're going for reach or niche. Then, determine what success looks like and make sure your metrics are tied to your business goals. Set expectations and define the scope of the partnership early, but think long term and build relationships with influencers aligned to your brand values and whose audiences match your customers. Then step out of the way and give your influencers the freedom to create.
Once upon a time, look, I can't help myself. This is how I think all great stories should begin. So, once upon a time, there was a little yellow ghost that wanted to get noticed. It came up with a cool way for people to share fun mini vignettes about their lives, and it wrapped them with all sorts of shiny glitter and lots of ribbons and bows. One day, a giant saw this bright, colorful package, ripped it open, and shouted, "This is mine, all mine!" You probably know the rest. The big giant did take the stories idea, and now stories are one of the most popular features on Instagram and Facebook. But the little ghost, Snapchat, should get full credit for creating the format. Stories are short, episodic narratives that combine images, video, text, filters, emoji, GIFs, doodles, polls, and hashtags in a unique and personal way. They're ideal for capturing an event, announcement, special occasion, or day in the life of your brand. They usually disappear in 24 hours, and they're produced in real time, so you don't need high production values. Now, it may sound obvious, but the first thing you want to do is come up with an idea or framework for your story, something that ties it together, even if that's in the loosest possible way. Consider what you're trying to convey: excitement, humor, empathy. What will make your story stand out, and what will your call to action be? The stories format is episodic, but you can add a focus or plot that keeps users tuned in. And be sure to test different combinations of visuals to see what works best with your customers. Once you have an idea, develop a rough storyboard to visualize the scenes and how they will flow. You can do that digitally or prepare a storyboard the old-fashioned way by sketching it out on a piece of paper like panels in a cartoon. And be sure to conceive your storyboard vertically so your finished product is easy to watch when your audience is on their phone. Most of us aren't improv artists who can come up with a witty line at the drop of a hat. That's why you should work on your script beforehand. And when I say script, I don't mean a full-fledged screenplay. Again, comic books are a good model, especially the way they use short bursts of descriptive text to create an emotion. But no matter how scripted your stories might be, you'll want to adapt or add moments on the fly. And don't be so overplanned that every frame of your story looks the same. Mix it up. Show and tell visually and in a mobile-first type of way. Let's look at what a storyboard for Topsy-Turvy might be. Say they're going to show a behind-the-scenes day in the life. Well, we could start with a selfie video of Audrey Topsy telling us what we'll be watching. A location tag or geofilter highlighting her neighborhood could be a nice touch. The second frame could also be a video, this time of her team getting ready. Here, you might want to add some fun lenses to capture the spirit of the team. Frame 3 could focus on cupcakes, complete with some doodles, GIFs, or emoji to set the stage for the finished product. You get the idea. Stories are all about quick bursts of creativity that give your customers an authentic glimpse into your brand's personality.
It wasn't that long ago when
Right. So we learned about how influencer marketing and is important, and how do we create stories, and how integrating the different components of stories on social media actually can be really helpful, right? The other very key important things which we need to keep in mind in terms of social media content are actually the live stream, the YouTube live, the Facebook live, the LinkedIn live, etc. These are very, very good and easy alternate to how you can stream the videos. And of course, video engagement is always going to be the highest, right? So how do we do that to ensure higher engagement is what we'll see. Then we will also see how do you build a connection between the various podcasts and the social audio. So audio listening is also something which is kind of important as well, right? So let's listen to the live streaming part of it and how the podcast kind of things work as well.
When companies had to spend a lot of money on video production. Now that changed with social video and again when Facebook opened its platform to live streaming. Soon, other social networks like Twitter, YouTube, TikTok, and LinkedIn followed suit. And now, brands aren't only in your own biz, you're also in showbiz. Live stream video lets you reach your audience directly and with an immediacy that's hard to beat. Sure, your content isn't perfect, but that adds a layer of authenticity to the whole experience. And while it may feel that way, a great show doesn't just happen like that. You need to put in pre-production work to make it watchable and entertaining. So what types of content can your brand stream? Well, you can do product launches or behind-the-scenes interviews, or you could create a talk show with special guests or internal panelists. You could partner with influencers and sell products right from your show. And when you're at an event or a conference, you could conduct interviews with industry experts who may be speaking there. Just remember to match your content to your audience and the platform they're on. A brand like Two Trees Olive Oil could host a Mediterranean diet cooking live stream right from their company test kitchen. And if their audience is young and busy professionals, they could stream it on Instagram or TikTok. And Two Trees could invite food influencers as guests to offer tips, recipes, and their secrets for making healthy and delicious meals quickly and efficiently. Your brand can also use live stream video as a way to supercharge your customer service or speak directly to your audience in a crisis. Just remember to weigh the risks versus the opportunities and be prepared to address difficult situations. Live stream video is a powerful way to connect with your customers. Here's how to begin. First, establish your goals, then define your idea, format, and target audience. Pick your channels and get the right equipment. Now, you may not need a full studio, but an external mic, camera, and some lights are basic essentials. Develop your workflow from pre-production, booking guests, to promotion, going on air, and editing the final product. Of course, you should do a pilot before you go live, and when you're ready, promote your show on social channels. After every episode is done, debrief and adapt to your audience feedback. And when it's time for your close-up, remember to give it your all and go with the flow. If you want to learn more about how to get started, check out Live Streaming on LinkedIn, a course by Cher Jones. A friend and work colleague once told me the thing he likes best about podcasts is that it feels like the speaker is talking just to you. And that sense of intimacy is one of the reasons podcasts are such an effective and popular way to reach your audience. So, are podcasting and social audio right for your brand? Let's talk about it. In the last few years, podcasts have surged in popularity because your customers can listen wherever they want, and from a brand perspective, they're less time-consuming to produce and don't cost as much as video. Plus, you can combine sound, music, and editing in creative ways to tell unique stories that surprise and inspire your audience. Your company can use podcasts to reach customers or your internal team. But in both cases, you need to give people a reason to tune in. That means understanding your audience and figuring out how your show might solve their needs. You'll also want to select your format and decide, are you going to have a host and a guest, panel, or behind-the-scenes stories? What equipment will you need? What will your workflow look like? How will you promote it? I cover that in my course, Content Marketing Podcasting for Business, and if you're looking for strategies, you may want to check it out. Let's slide that dial over to social audio. Now, while social audio has many similarities to podcasting in terms of your equipment and production, it's way more immediate. Think of it like a free-flowing radio call-in show. You can have a social audio chat on platforms like Twitter or Clubhouse, and depending on the one you choose, you can have a host and one or two presenters and the ability to give listeners an opportunity to make their voices heard. Just remember to be prepared for candor, including criticism of your brand, and be ready to respond in an open and honest way. Social audio isn't for the faint of heart, but if you're looking for a two-way dialogue with your community, it's worth checking out. So whether you choose social audio or podcasting, remember to start with a great idea and bring your audience into the story. Understand how they might react to it and anticipate any questions they may have. After all, the secret to a great conversation is more listening than talk.
Great. So we learned about live streaming and audios and podcasts. Now, what is latest in the industry and what is emerging is marketing into the metaverse. And that's the latest buzzword, right? So even it is true for a social media marketing. So let's listen to what marketing in the metaverse means and how do we do it through social.
You know, these days, it's hard to blink without seeing a reference to the metaverse. And if you're in marketing, where do you fit in? Well, before you get lost in your VR goggles, let's step back to get a wider view. First of all, the metaverse you've been hearing about isn't here yet. Right now, it's more high concept than reality. And because there's so much hype around what the metaverse is or will be, it's a good idea to approach it with a curious yet critical eye. But when it's fully operational, the metaverse will blend digital and real-life customer experiences in a whole new way. Today, while it's still on the drawing or coding board, there are some virtual worlds you can check out. These include Meta's Horizon Worlds, Decentraland, Roblox, and a site many of you may remember a long time ago, Second Life. But will the metaverse be more virtual or augmented reality? You could make a case for both sides, so it's a good idea to keep up with what's happening on both the VR and AR fronts. When it comes to immersive marketing, the virtual sky's the limit. Say you're a creative bakery like Topsy Turvy. Well, your agency might design you a flock of birds that come together to form a colorful birthday cake in the virtual sky, complete with a Topsy Turvy logo. Or maybe you'll bump into an avatar representing a high-profile sports star who stops to chat about their new sponsorship deal with a brand like H+ Sports. This is just a tip of the creativity you may see. But there's a dark side to metaverse marketing and issues that will need to be addressed. What if your customers don't realize the person or bot they're talking to is being paid to hawk clothes, software, or even digital makeovers? If your brand's avatar doesn't disclose and a customer realizes they're being fooled, that interaction could be considered spam. How will your company deal with user privacy and safety? Then there's a whole notion of interoperability. That is, the ability to move your avatar and digital assets seamlessly from one world to the next. That requires universal standards and regulations. It's a complex environment, that's for sure, and marketers will have many roles to play. You can start by checking out sci-fi books, films, and TV as a source for out-of-this-world ideas. Then reflect on the surfaces and places your customers encounter from a fresh POV, and don't be afraid to defy gravity or other physical constraints. Consider the partners and tech you might need to bring your concepts to life. Then step into your customer's shoes and imagine what their perceptions might be. Ultimately, you want to build a digital bond your customers will carry into real life and then back to the metaverse again.
With so many uncertainties and all the content marketing changes, it's tough to stay on top of the latest tool or app. And
so what we learn here is how to launch your social media strategy. While you have learned right now, what should be the strategy, what should be the approach, but how do you launch your campaign, right? So this is what we learn, which is more in terms of the execution point of view. So let's listen.
And the question you should be asking is whether your content resonates with your customers. Are they clicking and sharing or passing you by? Understanding your customers and their needs always was and always will be the key to your marketing and content marketing strategy. Get a handle on your customers by digging into who they are. Look at their demographics, behaviors, purchases, questions, and any other customer relationship data your business may have. From there, uncover insights and trends. Think about your customer's day, what social media networks they're on, what they need in the moment, and how you can help. If you're a brand like Topsy Turvy, perhaps you could focus on shoppable photos that highlight your products or videos with baking and party tips. The range of ideas is endless and different for every business. So is the content mix that's right for your customers and you. And it happens when you listen and understand your customers and not when you blast out sales messages on every single app. Now, that doesn't mean you can't do some selling and promotional posts, but you should put the relationship you have with your customers at the top of your marketing playbook. A good way to optimize your content is by thinking of it as a series and not a one-off. Look at how your stories play out over time on the various social media channels. For instance, Topsy Turvy Bakery could create a recipe photo on Pinterest and use that as a promoted pin. They could also share that recipe in a blog post and include a photo of that recipe on Instagram or in a Facebook post. Now, let's get into the nuts and bolts of content management and distribution. What content management platform should you choose? I hate to say it, but that's another one of those questions where the answer is, it depends. Because there are so many variables to consider and the range of options seems endless. When you're looking for a content management platform, consider what provider you're currently using and whether or not you're happy with them. What's your budget and how will you measure ROI? How big and sophisticated is your team? Do you need a backend that supports multiple users, or would something simpler work better for you? Do any of your existing partners offer a solution where you might get a discount? Don't just settle on one social media management platform. Shop around and ask to test drive others to determine who offers the best solution for your needs. For more help, check out our course on social media.
So very important to keep in mind that, when you are using a particular platform which will help to run your social media, it's very critical to understand what is the best platform that's available in the market and who gives you the best value for money, because there are multiple such tools available in the market, right? So the important thing to keep in mind would be what are those various options available and how will you evaluate, right? So we'll talk about the last part of this course, which is more in terms of how would you measure? Ultimately, it's all about the measurement of the success of the campaign, etc. So how would you measure what is most relevant for your brand, right? So we'll listen to this and then we'll open up for Q&A.
Okay, you've identified your audience, developed your plan, and selected your social media channels. Congratulations! Now it's time to figure out how to measure what matters to your brand. Start with a marketing funnel. At the top, you can measure awareness. That's where impressions, likes, and follows come in. Interest comes next. That's more action-oriented and focused on things like comments and shares. Moving further along is desire, where you can see how your customers engage with your content. Did they download a white paper, watch a video? How much time did they spend? And finally, there's action, which are all the outcomes you'd like your customers to take, including purchase and becoming an advocate for your brand. Of course, you'll need a tool or tools to measure your customer interactions, and most social media platforms have an analytics dashboard you can use to determine if the return on what you do is greater than your spend. If you have a website or a blog, you probably already have an analytics platform like Google set up. Just be sure to train your team on how to use it to capture the metrics you need. Once you have your raw data, it's time to dig in and analyze it. Descriptive analytics are all about measuring what people do, like the number of visits, unique visitors, bounce rate, and so on. Predictive analytics take your historical data and help you make predictions on future behavior based on what happened in the past. A word of advice, predictive analytics won't work as well when there's a cataclysmic event like a pandemic or economic change. Prescriptive analytics let you use your data to identify patterns that may point to potential issues or corrective action your brand might need to take. What else can you measure? Well, you can track search and keyword ranking and whether they're improving. You can provide trackable links to influencers to see if their content encourages customers to visit your site. You can measure marketing qualified leads or MQLs by looking at how many downloads or how much engagement your content is getting. And you can measure sales qualified leads or SQLs, provided you align your social media marketing with your sales team's customer relationship management or CRM system. Ultimately, it's up to you to establish actionable metrics that work for your brand. Begin by setting a benchmark or a baseline that you can measure against. Then define the time frame you're measuring, like this quarter versus a year ago. And combine several KPIs into a ratio, like comments per post or reshares per followers, to help you measure engagement. Just be sure to design metrics that track the business outcomes you want to achieve, and flexible enough to know when you need to adapt.
All right. So we'll stop sharing and open this up for any questions like you may have. So essentially, we talked about the various aspects of social media marketing, the different types of platforms, the different kind of content. Why is it important to do a SWOT analysis? What are the things we need to do when we are looking into a tool evaluation, etc.? And this would actually help you to understand as to, one, the importance of social media marketing. Second is how to do it. And then when you go and practice it, when you're working or when you're doing something on your own, is where you will get more of this exposure. But is there any question on this topic today for today? Any questions? Okay, if there are no questions, then I think we can end it over here. You can always listen to this recording, and in case there are any other follow-up questions in terms of social media topics, you can always reach out. So Kyonis Karnataka team, Hayati ma'am, are you there?
Yes, sir. Sir?
Yeah. Okay. So I think we are okay for today.
Yes,
we
sir.
have concluded. You can share this recording with the students, etc. And in case they have any questions on this topic further, they can reach out.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay.
Okay, fine. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
everybody.
sir.
Thank you.